Hello, my name is Emily. Today I'm going to show you two things that are a picture of life. So first of all, life is like a puzzle. Two of my children are doing jigsaw puzzles at the moment. And just like life, puzzles can sometimes be frustrating. They can be hard, they can take a lot of time. But with a puzzle, there is a finished picture of what the puzzle will look like. And in our lives, God is the only one who knows the big picture in our lives. He's the only one who knows how our life is going to turn out. And sometimes we see things that happen in our lives and we can't figure out why on earth God would let them happen, or why it had to happen to us, or what is the good in what's going to happen. But we can trust God. The Bible says all things work together for good to them that love God. Means if we trust Him and if we love Him, then everything in our life will have a purpose and a plan. And everything that happens in our life is like one of those puzzle pieces. The different things that happen. And sometimes we can't see a purpose. Sometimes we think it's not even for the right puzzle. I know there are things that have happened in my life that I think, why on earth is this happening? Or this is not in my plans of what I think my life is going to turn out like. But you know, God knows what the final picture looks like, not us. We think we know what's going to happen and what direction we want our lives to go. But God is the only one who knows. So we need to follow Him and trust Him, and He will work it all out right. And the puzzles, puzzles have different size pieces. And some are plain and boring, and other ones are more exciting or interesting or colourful. And in life, things are not always the same. We go through different stages, different seasons, times at school, maybe times being married, all different things that happen in our life. But each one has a place and a purpose. And sometimes there are times in our life that just seem plain, ordinary and boring, and other times they're more exciting. So we have to trust and obey God and trust that He will make our life picture beautiful and that He knows best. And to a certain point we can choose what our final picture looks like, because by the choices we make, in a way we are choosing the direction that our life goes. We can make bad choices and we can't blame God for the bad choices we make. So when we make wise choices, then we are choosing for our life to turn out beautiful and to turn out right. And the second thing that our life is like making cupcakes. One of my daughters was making cupcakes this morning. And when we're making cupcakes or cakes, there are things that we can compare to our life. When you're making, when she was making cupcakes this morning, she used raw egg, and she used sugar and flour and a few other things. And some of those things on their own are pretty disgusting when you taste them. Raw eggs are not very nice. Flour, baking powder, those kind of things on their own, they're not nice. And sometimes things in our lives happen that are not nice, and they might be sad or they might be hard, and we think, why on earth is this happening? How can any good come out of this? And yet when we are cooking, when all those things are mixed together and cooked, they do taste really nice. If we missed out those not so nice ingredients, our cakes would not be so very nice. And so in our lives, we need to trust God to allow the things in our lives that will make our lives beautiful, even though they're not nice in themselves. And when you're cooking, especially for Hannah, she's only learning to cook, she needs to follow her recipe book. If she just does it the way that she thinks will turn out good, it wouldn't turn out very good. She needs to follow the instructions of someone who knows what they're doing. And it's the same in life. This is our recipe book, the Bible. We've never lived a life before, and in a way we're like a child learning to cook for the first time, and we need to follow God's instructions. If we want our life to turn out right and good, we need to follow God's directions and God's instructions, because He knows what He's doing and we don't. Also when you're cooking, it's usually a big mess. On the bench there was broken eggs and flour and dirty dishes and things with butter on them. And when you're cooking, you make a mess. And when God is working in our lives, Often there is a bit of a mess. We might be feeling, there might be anger, there might be tears. Their hard times can feel a little bit like a mess. And yet if we are following God, if we are following His recipe book, we know that there's a purpose to every mess, and that when there are things in our lives that feel like a mess, we know that God is working and that God is making something good in our lives, like cupcakes. So I hope that these two things are an encouragement to you to trust God for the things that happen in your life, just like puzzle pieces. They don't always make sense on their own, but in the big picture, they make a beautiful picture, and it all makes sense. One day we'll see the big picture and it will all make sense. And with cooking you need not so nice things to make nice cupcakes. So I hope that you will trust God in your life, trust Him, and also follow His instructions, because there's no promise that things will work out right if we don't love Him and follow His word.